We're live. NFL Week 16. Welcome in. Boy, do I need a goodness gracious bounce back. We are coming in, dialed in. No funny business except lighten up. It's the holidays. Hope you're enjoying your families, your loved ones, your time, if you have the luxury of enjoying the sights and scenes that all things are. December and the month that is Christmas, Hanukkah, etc. Welcome in. We had a rough week last week. We're due. We are button up. We have game Saturday. We have game Sunday. Let's get right in. 5 games coming off ESPN New York, needing dubs, feeling good, great, phenom. Let's go. We start out on Saturday in Arrowhead, in the land of Patrick Mahomes' ankle and a line movement that's hard to even comprehend. Because if you sat there and told me plus 2.5 with Patrick Mahomes at home in the month of December, I would be absolutely taking the money out from under the mattress and slamming it. It's too late. The line's 3.5. You know the rule. Mahomes laying more than 3, we're off it. Couple of things I'm pushing back on the very own theory that I 9 times out of 10 co-sign on as a guy that's faded and backed the Chiefs a number of times successfully on the show this year. If you've been rocking week in, week out, you know I got a pretty good finger on the pulse of KC. Coming off last time we touched them, it was 2 weeks ago. Chargers with the points in Arrowhead plus 4, and we hit it. Even though at halftime, it seemed like a distant cover. We're looking at this matchup, and we're sitting here going, all right, Mahomes limited with the ankle, sure. The reality is you can call the Hollywood Brown comeback huge. You can call it an element, or you could sit here one way or another and tell yourself, Chiefs at home in December on a short work week, which is a Saturday, with the better coach, in a scenario where we're watching Texans football and I'm liking it, but I'm not absolutely loving it. I mean, that Dolphins game was a little weird. Miami hung in there a bit too long, even though the Texans should have buried them. You start to look at this Houston Texans team and you go around the ring and you're like, they should be a tick better. They should be making a little more noise. You look at them offensively, and believe it or not, if we're sitting here calling it what it is, they have within 0.1 on the points per game scale between the Chiefs and them. 23.5 and 23.4 points per game. And we are talking about a game that you could probably sit here, take the under, lean back, as my guy Bart Scott said, on the hit today, and watch a defensive chess match. These are 2 top 5 overall defenses when it comes to not just a passing defensive perspective. Excuse me. Texans are a top 5 pass D. Chiefs are a top 5 run D. From an overall yards perspective, you're sitting here looking at the Houston Texans top 10, and the Chiefs sitting here right behind them from a 302 to 306 standpoint. So they're very close as far as points per game in a couple of categories. However, defensively, the underrated Stevie Spags at his place has been otherwise picture perfect when it comes to defensive game plans. And this is not a CJ Stroud that has been what we have seen a otherwise unbelievable protector of the football. I mean, this is a guy that had 1 interception through months, plural, and we're coming off, a couple of clean records in the last couple of weeks, but we're also coming off 2 of the prior 3 weeks, multiple interceptions. Detroit, Tennessee. So just a very good Houston Texans team that isn't necessarily catching our eye in any exceptional way. Going to Arrowhead, one of the most difficult places, if you look up Andy Reid's numbers in December, under him and Mahomes to play, not cozy at all. And we're laying 3.5, which isn't great, but we're overall Action Network shout out for the stat. in the most profitable season since 2009 when it comes to favorites just winning. 71%. Favorites are 71%. You could, if you want strategy here from me, how I think, take the Chiefs on the money line, forget the 3.5, and pick a cupcake, if you want to call it, home favorite in the college football playoff on Saturday. You could go Texas at home over Clemson, although I'm starting to lean Clemson with the points. I'll tell you 11.5 is a lot on a winner take home day on a week where the Cup and the Dogs and the Bucks, different sport, but still came away with a dub. You're talking about an SMU team that could be severely outmatched against Penn State. You're also talking about Ohio State that should wrap up to go Tennessee, but we'll see if there is an upset in the first ever best of 12 first round. But just bringing it back to this, you're talking about public side Chiefs, line movement, and we're getting the worst of the number. Three things I don't co-sign on as a long-term bettor, but sometimes I got to jump over my gambling gut. I'm coming off a cold week. I got to get wins, and I'm going to sit here and say the Chiefs win by 4 or more. Could come down to turnovers, a thing or two. Could come down to just, ironically, Mahomes more buttoned up in the pocket, which he doesn't get a ton of credit about because he's so good at improving outside of it. They can beat you in so many different ways. The Houston Texans cannot. It's a dome team, to put a cherry on top, outside in real winter weather. Not conducive to a win. I know the professionals are on the 3.5. We're going to go down swinging with the Chiefs. Here we go to the AFC North. Let's go, baby. The Pittsburgh Steelers are getting a number it's hard to even comprehend. It's now bumped up to 7 points. I guess we're 2 weeks walking Pittsburgh into it because I don't know how we don't take it. I just don't know in the history of this game and this head-to-head. Under Tomlin, awful loss where he was getting dogged and dragged by Philly in the Pennsylvania rivalry of 11 straight for the Eagles. We walked right into that. But if we're going on history, which we bucked last week, we're wrapping our arms around history this week, baby. Because Tomlin against the Ravens as a 4-point dog or more is undefeated 8-0. Lamar Jackson's 1-4 straight up, 0-5 against the spread. 0-5 against Mikey Tomlin and the boys they call the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 52-39-1 against the spread against all of the teams in the NFL. And he's 0-5 against the Steelers. Underdogs last 20 years in this series. If you want history, if you want context, I'm back in the points. 23-4-3 against the spread. The dog is 16-2-1 covering since 2015 by a margin of 5.6. And we're going to take and lay 7 with the Ravens? Look, here are the results since 2020 of outcomes in this head-to-head. 277, 323, 154. Only 2 outliers on the Scantron. All right, the rest are, as I was joking, up the blackjack table. Hit me. 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 5, 4. Forget about it. We're adding up to 21, and I'm exhausted. They are so closely matched. 18-16 round one, exactly what you want to see. Sure, on the road, got to play the Chiefs on Christmas, short turnaround, looking right over their shoulder. Get swept and slept by the Ravens on the road. I get it. But I got to be honest. I don't feel comfortable ever in this rivalry laying a number that's largely equal to a touchdown. It's just not going to happen. I'm not doing it. Secondarily, can't get over Tomlin being a little less aggressive than they've been offensively, punting inside the Eagles' territory late in the second half, only to lead to a 10-minute plus drive, drag you around to the deep waters. The Eagles did. They went Saquon heavy, Gainwell all over. I mean, just one of those games where we read it wrong. Boy, are we going to take a nice W. I don't want to call it automatic, but a nice cozy spot with Pittsburgh +7. It's +7. It's not even 6.5. Taking it 6.5, though. Let's zip over. And let's move to Sunday. And I made a joke about it, but we're not joking around. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to cover for us. We're going to turn the page and we're going to head to Ace Ventura Land in a pick'em game where I think we're getting a nice number we shouldn't get because Deebo Samuel didn't catch the football for us. We're now up to plus 1.5. Give me the San Francisco 49ers with a 1.5 on the road. Hi, how are you? It's the week where Brock Purdy is sharing and caring. Did you see what this under $1 million salary mensch did? He handed out Toyotas to his offensive line. I don't care how he did it with his sponsorship. You got Mahomes $500 million handing out Oakley sunglasses and coolers, and Purdy's making under $1 million, less than NIL quarterbacks handing his offensive line keys to a Tundra? Forget about it. It's a good vibes bounce back W. Not to mention, this is the ball boy for the Broncos for Kyle's father. You think in the hierarchy cafeteria game? Excuse me. Coming back off bronchitis. We're going to fade the younger kid at the table? Mikey McDaniel, young Mikey McDaniel, pinches cheeks. He's got contacts. No, he's got glasses thicker than the kid in the bag with a 4.9 GPA. Little Mikey. Look, you know the numbers over the last 2 years for the Miami thins down, going nowhere, built like a Madden roster. Record is against grown men in this league. That's teams above 500. One win over the last 2 years. You think this is really a 6-8 San Francisco team? No. Couple of key guys out still, sure. But I like the matchup here in the trenches. I think this is a Miami defense not great. You just saw them against a top 5 pass D, which ironically the San Francisco 49ers team is in a 12-6 chess match. You saw on national television, snooze fest. Hope you worked on your hamstrings or called somebody and caught up because you missed nothing. Thursday night, I digress. Just Deebo catch the football and the Niners win. We lost a real check on that one. I digress. I sit here and I look at a Niners bounce back spot with extra nights of sleep, 10 nights of sleep, nothing like it on L's coming into this one and saying, I think it's a great matchup. It's going to be a Miami team not moving the football at will by any means, and a team just 2 weeks removed from over 30 points effortlessly against a Bears team that was otherwise physical. If they can just stick to their game plan, San Francisco, Purdy can just make the easy throws, stop trying to go above the rim. Let's remind ourselves that was a rainy Thursday night. All right. Last time there was not weather that changed everything. Purdy was definitely more than serviceable. And I'm going off the good vibes Tundra, Tacoma, pick a forerunner if you please. You're giving your offensive line cars, and you don't think he's going to be protected with a little extra ethos, pathos, locos? This is how we cap football games, people. Just welcome and settle in. Give me the San Fran Niners with the 1.5. We zip over to where I live for a living, the New York area. And we are fresh off Enigma. And right when they take me out, and I'm done with them, the New York Jets cause a ruckus. And I watch Enigma, and I'm all the way back in, and I'm loving the Aaron Rodgers doc, and I highly recommend it. The guy is a complex creature, and he's all in on this team. He's got a lot of love for him. They're playing loose. They're playing light. And this is the good old SoCal Soft team on a nice 1 o'clock. Mark Sanchez has described it in detail. SoCal Soft team coming to a real. Bring your gloves and some hand warmers. I'm telling you, I'm out of here for the week, and I am very grateful for some vitamin D because I haven't seen the sun since the summer. What I'm saying is 1 o'clock start, West Coast team feeling very trappy as a 3.5 point open line for New York has been bet down to 3. I absolutely love this. The Rams on the road, different dudes. Also, historically, Aaron Rodgers 8-0 against the spread against the Rams. He's never not covered. Look, they're playing for next year. They're playing loose. When you play loose, but you play light, and some of these guys are playing positively for next year momentum, particularly the leader under center, as long as he's locked in. I'm looking at Rodgers' numbers the last few weeks, people. You're trying to get a lot more joyous than just be a little joyful this holiday season when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. From a Jets quarterback, very just lackluster 2 decades. This guy's been still playing above the numbers. So he's going to protect the football on Sunday. It's a Rams bottom 10 run D. They're not necessarily great on pass D. Got a little more bend but not breaky in the last few weeks, sure. But they're getting a number 2 here, coming off a Rams win they shouldn't have. So books might be saying, oh my gosh, public is just going to walk right into it. Give me the Rams against the Jets. Go look at the defensive efforts at MetLife, and I'll spare you because it's the Jets, so I'll be short form here. And defensive efforts there at a New Jersey theater near you. It wasn't terrible this year. What I'm saying is, really battling a cold. Apologize. What I'm saying is, it's ultimately a number that historically you would feel good backing, knowing what a West Coast team traveling 3,000 miles to East in a cold climate is long term. Trust me on it. Give me the New York Jets plus 3.5. Let's talk all the marbles. Let's talk a fascinating matchup. The Washington Commanders in the biggest home game. It feels like college. I'm not kidding. Are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. And who wants the NFC East? I'm not kidding. Situation type stakes. It's the biggest game in Washington since RG3 was under center, baby. You think I'm kidding? And we're not taking the Commanders with a point. You're out of your Tinseltown mind. Give me the Washington Commanders plus 3.5 all day to the crib. You don't like it? Then go swallow the public 3.5 and watch Sirianni try to be Italian in Washington while they're chirping him for a full 48. I love this spot. You watched that game Thursday night a few weeks back, not the box score that dictated how competitive it was. Not till the fourth quarter did Philly break away 20 points. That was leaning Washington to cover on the road, by the way, in a big Jayden Daniels spot and test all game till the fourth. Saquon had his way ultimately, but you turn back around, you go statistical, you say Washington will beat them in a shootout. They got the more overall yards, pass yards, and points per game. Obviously, Philly's got the overall better D, but let's not sleep on Washington. Did not allow a Jalen Hurts passing touchdown in round 1. This is a great historical spot, not necessarily paying out this season, but a home divisional dog plus 3.5. I'm sorry. I got to take it. I got to take it with conviction. I mean, this team didn't cover off a New Orleans game on the road to come back. Philly hasn't really been in a test in a few weeks. I mean, they haven't lost since literally I was sitting here in the fall. I mean, seasons have changed since Philly's lost. They're due for a letdown spot. Why not this weekend against a team that may sleep them at home? Definitely something you could consider sprinkling on the money line. We appreciate you listening. It's the Washington Commanders plus 3.5. It's the Kansas City Chiefs minus 3.5 at home. The Pittsburgh Steelers plus 7 on the road. The New York Jets plus 3 and plus 3.5. You can find it at home. And the San Francisco 49ers plus 1.5. You have yourself a wonderful holiday. I will be podding. I will be across the country handling business with the family, locking in key family time for the only time this year. Have a lot going on, so I'll do my best to get another pot up for next year. But have yourself a wonderful, truly Merry Christmas. And we will throw up, as always, on Moneyline Monaco, Insta, social, at Alex Monaco on Twitter, all things, picks, and of course, Action Network is where I post all my plays to track forever. Still in the green over there, at Action Network under Alex Monaco. Do not, as always, go a day without hugging your mothers. Appreciate you. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Ta-ta, real smooth. Appreciate the support, truly.